Can desperation masquerading as strategy actually save a sinking ship? Or are we witnessing the Edmonton Oilers prepare to compound one catastrophic mistake with another? The rage coursing through oil country right now isn't just palpable, it's justified. After years of championship promises, after consecutive Western Conference Finals appearances, after assembling the most electrifying offensive core in modern hockey with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, the Edmonton Oilers find themselves in a position that borders on organizational malpractice. They're not just struggling, they're drowning in their own defensive incompetence, and the life raft they're desperately reaching for might be riddled with holes. Let me lay out the brutal, unvarnished truth about where the Edmonton Oilers currently stand. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't media exaggeration. These are cold, hard facts that should have every member of the front office questioning their professional competence. The Edmonton Oilers currently possess the worst goaltending in the entire National Hockey League. Not second worst, not bottom five, dead last. Their combined save percentage of .860 is a statistical abomination that would embarrass recreational league netminders. They've surrendered more goals than any other franchise in the league, and the gap isn't even close. November 25th represented the absolute nadir of this nightmare. The Dallas Stars didn't just defeat Edmonton 8-2. They humiliated them, exposing every single flaw in the Oilers' defensive structure with surgical precision. Stuart Skinner, the supposed number one netminder, was mercifully pulled after allowing 4 goals on just 8 shots. Let that ratio sink in for a moment. 50% of the shots he faced ended up in the back of the net. Calvin Pickard entered in relief and promptly matched that disaster, surrendering 4 goals himself. This wasn't a game. This was a public execution broadcast to millions, exposing the fundamental rot at the core of Edmonton's championship aspirations. According to Sportsnet's Nick Kypreos, Edmonton has identified their target, Jordan Binnington of the St. Louis Blues. And this isn't just a simple goaltender swap. The Oilers are attempting to orchestrate a multi-piece package that would also extract a defenseman from St. Louis, potentially addressing 2 critical weaknesses simultaneously. The strongest speculation ties Binnington to Edmonton, and that the Oilers are also seeing if they can get a defenseman out of St. Louis at the same time. Kypreos revealed the proposed framework would send Stuart Skinner back to Missouri to form a tandem with Joel Hofer, while Binnington, complete with his $6 million cap hit and championship pedigree, would don the orange and blue. On the surface, the logic appears sound. Binnington is a proven champion who backstopped the Blues to the 2019 Stanley Cup, playing all 26 playoff games during that magical run. He's demonstrated ice-cold composure in pressure situations, possesses legitimate championship DNA, and recently helped Team Canada capture the Four Nations Face-Off title in February. The Blues rewarded his excellence with a 6-year, $36 million contract in 2021, making him the 7th highest-paid goaltender in the league. Those credentials are undeniably impressive. Championship-winning goaltenders don't grow on trees, and Binnington has proven he can elevate his game when the stakes are highest. But now comes the part that should make Stan Bowman and the entire Oilers management team pause and think very, very carefully before pulling this trigger. Jordan Binnington's current statistics are, well, they're barely better than Skinner's disastrous numbers. His .880 save percentage and 3.13 goals against average represent marginal improvements at absolute best. We're talking about trading for a goaltender who's currently struggling himself, hoping that a change of scenery will magically resurrect his career. The Oilers front office is apparently banking on the theory that Binnington would improve dramatically playing behind a better team. It's not an entirely unreasonable hypothesis. Goaltending statistics are heavily influenced by the quality of defensive structure and personnel in front of a netminder. St. Louis currently sits 7th in the Central Division and appears headed toward a full-scale rebuild. TSN's Darren Dreger confirmed that Edmonton's interest in Binnington isn't new. There's history in the Oilers' interest in Jordan Binnington. Whether or not Stan Bowman wants to revisit that, we'll see. But Dreger also dropped a crucial piece of information that should genuinely concern Oilers fans. Any team looking to make a major trade right now will likely have to significantly overpay. Most NHL franchises still believe they're in the playoff hunt, which dramatically drives up the asking price for quality players. Let's be brutally, painfully honest about where Edmonton stands at this moment. If the season ended on November 26th, the Oilers wouldn't even qualify for the playoffs. Read that sentence again and let it fully register. A team featuring Connor McDavid, arguably the greatest player on the planet, would be watching the postseason from home. This isn't a drill. This isn't media overreaction to a small sample size. This is a legitimate organizational crisis that threatens to waste another precious year of McDavid's prime. The 27-year-old superstar defended his goaltenders after the Dallas debacle, demonstrating the class and leadership we've come to expect from a generational talent. But even McDavid can't score enough goals to overcome surrendering 8 per game. There's no offensive firepower on earth capable of compensating for that level of defensive incompetence. The pressure on general manager Stan Bowman is absolutely immense. He inherited a roster constructed to win immediately, and the championship window is slamming shut faster than anyone anticipated. Draisaitl's contract situation looms ominously. McDavid's future in Edmonton depends entirely on the organization's ability to compete for championships. Every single game that passes with subpar goaltending is another nail driven into the coffin of this season's aspirations. If Edmonton does pull the trigger on a Binnington trade, the strategic framework makes logical sense. Moving Skinner back to St. Louis accomplishes several objectives simultaneously. It removes the struggling netminder from a pressure cooker environment where his confidence has been systematically shattered. It provides the Blues with a younger goaltender to develop during their rebuild phase. It clears salary cap space for Edmonton to potentially add that defenseman they're targeting. It gives Skinner an opportunity to rebuild his career in a lower pressure environment. Binnington has 2 years remaining on his contract after this season, providing some stability and certainty. His $6 million cap hit is manageable for a team in win-now mode, especially if he can return to even 75% of his championship form. The potential addition of a Blues defenseman in the same package could address Edmonton's other glaring weakness. While the goaltending has been historically catastrophic, the defensive structure in front of them hasn't exactly been stellar either. A 2-for-1 trade that addresses both critical needs would represent a masterstroke, if it works. But let's not sugarcoat the substantial risks inherent in this approach. Trading for a goaltender who's currently posting mediocre numbers is an enormous gamble. Yes, Binnington might thrive with better defensive support. Yes, he might rediscover his championship form in a new environment with higher expectations. Yes, the change of scenery could benefit both him and Skinner. Or Binnington might continue struggling. Edmonton might surrender valuable assets for minimal statistical improvement. The Oilers might find themselves in an even deeper hole with fewer options and resources to climb out. The counterargument is devastatingly simple. What choice do the Oilers realistically have? Continuing with the current goaltending situation is organizational suicide. Skinner's confidence appears completely shattered. Pickard was never intended to be more than a capable backup. The internal options have been thoroughly exhausted. Sometimes in professional hockey, you have to make a move even when it's not perfect. Sometimes you have to take a calculated risk because the alternative, doing absolutely nothing, is guaranteed failure. This situation speaks to a much larger, more troubling issue within the Edmonton organization. How did a franchise with this much elite offensive firepower end up in this catastrophic position? The Oilers have constructed their entire roster philosophy around elite forwards, investing heavily in McDavid, Draisaitl, and supporting offensive pieces. But hockey is fundamentally a team game, and championships aren't won by offense alone. The defensive structure has been questionable for years. The goaltending development has clearly, demonstrably failed. and now the organization finds itself in a position where they might have to dramatically overpay to fix problems that shouldn't have existed in the first place. For Blues fans, this represents a genuine opportunity. If St. Louis can extract quality assets for Binnington, a goaltender they might not view as part of their long-term future, while taking on Skinner as a reclamation project, it's intelligent asset management during a rebuild phase. Every day that passes without a resolution is another day wasted. The NHL season is a marathon, but it's a marathon with a very real, very unforgiving finish line. Teams that dig themselves too deep a hole in the first quarter rarely recover, regardless of talent level or star power. Stan Bowman needs to act decisively and immediately, whether that means pulling the trigger on the Binnington trade, aggressively exploring alternative options, or making a completely different move. The status quo is utterly unacceptable. The Oilers cannot continue hemorrhaging goals at this historic rate and expect to compete for anything meaningful. The fascinating subplot is whether St. Louis will play hardball in negotiations. They know Edmonton is desperate. They know the Oilers have severely limited options. They know that desperation dramatically drives up prices in trade discussions. Doug Armstrong, the Blues general manager, is a savvy, experienced operator who won't leave value on the table. This could devolve into a high-stakes game of chicken. Edmonton trying to secure a fair deal while St. Louis extracts maximum value. The team that blinks first might determine the trajectory of both franchises for years to come. Jordan Binnington to Edmonton makes sense on paper. A proven champion joining a talented team. A change of scenery for struggling goaltenders. A potential package deal that addresses multiple critical needs. The logic is sound and defensible. But logic doesn't always translate to success on the ice. Hockey is unpredictable. Trades are gambles, and the Oilers are betting their entire season, possibly their championship window, on the hope that Binnington can rediscover his form. One thing is absolutely certain: Edmonton cannot continue down their current path. The goaltending must improve, whether through trade, internal adjustment, coaching changes, or divine intervention. The margin for error has completely evaporated. The time for decisive action is right now. Will Jordan Binnington be the savior who rescues Edmonton's season? Or will this become another cautionary tale about desperate teams making desperate moves that compound their problems rather than solving them? We're about to find out, and Oil Country better buckle up for what promises to be an absolutely wild ride. The championship window is closing. McDavid's prime years are finite. The pressure has never been higher, and Stan Bowman is about to make a decision that will define his legacy in Edmonton for better or for worse. Is this the calculated risk that saves the season, or the desperate mistake that ensures another year of championship dreams deferred? Drop your brutally honest thoughts in the comments below. Would you pull this trigger if you were sitting in Bowman's chair? And smash that like button if you want more unfiltered, in-depth analysis of the biggest stories shaking up the NHL right now. This is the moment that defines everything, and you're getting the complete breakdown right here.